What the hell is this?
Yeah, it's you. And this is all me. All of this is mine. You're welcome.
What are you doing to me?
Hey, stop it. You're choking yourself.
Freed, take my hands off you.
Right there.
What did you do?
What did I do? You think I want to be you?
Who said I wanted to be you?
Just trying to be nice.
Oh my God!
There is a dude named Ron DeSantis who is released, I think all, but definitely a lot of the Jeffrey Epstein information. He's at least signed a law called the Sunlight Law that releases all the Epstein information, all the filings from Epstein's single criminal conviction, which is here in Florida for sex trafficking, right? That was in 2009. So I'm a fan of that. And, you know, I moved my family to Florida because I like Ron DeSantis' leadership. I was 100% behind Donald Trump, President Trump, in this primary process, but I like the way that Ron DeSantis has run this state. Kind of inarguable to say that it's one of, if not the best run red states in the country. So what's going on here? We have an obligation to tell you the breaking news. The breaking news here, according to the Wall Street Journal, is that Donald Trump spoke yesterday with Ron DeSantis about being the Secretary of Defense. I'm Team Pete. I like Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth's our boy. Okay, come get your boy. Donald Trump considers replacing Pete Hegseth with Ron DeSantis as defense secretary pick. This is the breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. We have made some phone calls this morning and confirmed that at least a private conversation was held with Ron DeSantis and President Trump yesterday at a Florida law enforcement ceremony that took place in Palm Beach. President-elect Ron DeSantis is considering replacing Pete Hegseth with his controversial pick to lead Pentagon. Controversial by who? Pete Hegseth is a warrior and a fighter and a great American. With one-time 2024 rival Ron DeSantis, people familiar with the discussion said. The move comes as Hegseth, a 44-year-old Army veteran, former Fox News personality, faces increasing scrutiny over allegations of sexual misconduct and financial mismanagement. Wow. They've Kavanaugh. The thing that makes me so angry is that if they keep doing the Kavanaugh trick and the Kavanaugh trick keeps working, they'll keep doing it to your kids, to my kids, to everyone. That's the thing that makes me so angry about this. As many as 6 Senate Republicans have expressed reservations about confirming Hegseth for the top Pentagon role, according to NBC News. DeSantis, a former member of the Navy Judge Advocate General Corps, was on the short list of potential defense secretaries presented to Trump and transition officials before he went with Hegseth, according to the Wall Street Journal. The list has recently been dusted off and presented to Trump again as allegations of Hegseth, which some senators have described as disturbing, continue to surface. Sources told the Wall Street Journal that Trump could settle on a different replacement for Hegseth if the nomination fails. As far as I know, hey Alex, am I wrong here? No senator has come out and said they will vote against Pete Hegseth. This is different from Matt Gaetz. We also freaking love Matt Gaetz. It is what it is. We really like Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi's literally legitimately like our neighbor by country standards down here. We freaking love Pam Bondi, okay? And there's no love lost with Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz had multiple senators coming out against him. That's hard to move. But there are no senators who have come out publicly against Hegseth. There are just 6 or 7 who are saying that they are wishy-washy. Sources who spoke to the Journal said that Donald Trump may well have presented DeSantis with the opportunity to be defense secretary. Ron DeSantis is term limited in Florida. He can only run for 0 more terms, actually. Ron DeSantis won his re-election in a landslide. Ron DeSantis is responsible for flipping Florida so red. And as you know, we are a fan of Ron DeSantis' governorship of the state. However, we hate these tactics used against Pete Hegseth. The president-elect and former governor were together Tuesday at a memorial service And according to reports, they met to speak about the Secretary of Defense nomination. During his presidential primary campaign, DeSantis proposed eliminating Pentagon diversity initiatives and slashing military programs on climate change. Our mantra on January 20th, 2025 as Commander-in-Chief will be very simple. Mission first, accomplish the mission, DeSantis said on the campaign trail, blaming wokeism in the military. We also got to ensure that that there's good order and discipline of military installations. Having things like drag shows on military bases should not be allowed. Ron DeSantis, of course, cares about these things because Ron DeSantis is a JAG officer and served in the military at high levels. DeSantis also indicated that as president, he would revoke Biden-Harris administration's policy to allow transgender service military members in the military serve in the military under their preferred sex, reinstate those who were kicked out COVID-19. Hegseth had been on Capitol Hill this week trying to drum up support for the nomination, a meeting with several GOP senators. One of them is Markwayne Mullin, I know, who came out strongly advocating for Hegseth. Days after being tapped to serve as defense secretary, reports surfaced. Again, Kavanaugh-style reports surfaced, and Hegseth and his lawyers have all claimed these allegations are completely false, along with a ton of his Fox and Friends co-hosts, who we deeply respect, know, and appreciate. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the state of play. I'll tell you, I hate the tactics. I like Pete Hegseth a lot. I like Ron DeSantis a lot. Ron DeSantis. I wouldn't have moved my most precious commodity, my most precious assets, my family. Wouldn't have moved them to Florida if I didn't appreciate Ron DeSantis' stewardship of the state. But that is irrelevant to the actual tactics being deployed here against a good man and against a patriot, Pete Hegseth, ladies and gentlemen. So here is the breaking report on this. This is certainly what has set the internet ablaze today. DeSantis swap for Hegseth. Here we go.
For you, just a few moments ago, I got off the phone with a source familiar who's confirming a Wall Street Journal report that came out last night that says that President-elect Trump is considering Ron DeSantis for SecDef, potentially replacing Pete Hegseth. That source tells me that reporting from Wall Street Journal is accurate, that Trump and DeSantis met face-to-face yesterday here in Palm Beach at an event for fallen law enforcement and talked about this, and that Trump is, quote, seriously considering Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in that role for Secretary of Defense. Now, let's pull up a little bit of what the Wall Street Journal was reporting. This report came out last night. Part of that article said, quote, Trump allies increasingly think Hegseth may not survive further scrutiny, according to people close to the president-elect's team, which considers the next 48 hours to be crucial to his fate.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Pete Hegseth is currently in an interview with Megyn Kelly. Pete Hegseth is now punching back at this. And so we look forward to that dropping. We're allied with Pete. We like Pete Hegseth. What is happening to him is the Kavanaugh playbook. And we do not want it to be victorious. We don't want it to win. That's the right way to say this. Like as James Comer just said, I'm paraphrasing James Comer on the program. Like Hunter Biden and Joe Biden are guilty of so much more than anything Matt Gaetz had ever been accused of. But this is the tactic. If they can create enough inertia on the fake stories, if they can merchandise the wrap-up smear. Can we get the wrap-up smear clip? Let's just get it. You could, I mean, Nancy Pelosi again in a rattling cocktail moment of senility explained exactly what they're doing. She explained the tactic. They used it against Gaetz. They were successful in getting Gaetz to drop out for AG. I freaking love Pam Bondi, so it's hard for me to feel terrible about it. But the more that it is successful, the more they will use it. They are in control of very loud microphones. They're dying microphones, but they're loud enough. And the playbook is very simple. Create fake allegations. You can always do that. You can make up sources. You can make up your anonymous sources. You can pay people to say things when they've never even met Pete Hegseth. You can have people that have vendettas, that lie. You run those anonymous fake stories, and then you merchandise it and you destroy the person. Here, what you're doing is you're trying to ply off 3 senators that they need. They need 3 senators to vote against the nomination for Republicans, and then all Democrats to vote against it, and then the nomination fails in the Senate. Once the nomination fails in the Senate, you're in a tough ship. You got a tough road out of that. It's really hard to get back that nomination. I wonder if it's ever even happened. That being said, what typically happens is the advise and consent rule of the Senate. The Senate should give a president, especially a president with a massive mandate and who won both chambers, deep deference on his decisions. So the Senate shouldn't be used as some type of like weaponizing cabal that sabotages people because the superstate in D.C. is scared, and that is exactly what is happening with fake allegations and slanders and smears. Pete Hegseth fighting this. Pete Hegseth inside of the Capitol this morning saying he just spoke with President Trump. Here we go.
Have you had any conversations with the president-elect about replacing you with Governor DeSantis?
I spoke to the president-elect this morning. He said, keep going, keep fighting. Behind you all the way.
So you're in this all the way.
Why would I back down? I've always been a fighter. I'm here for the more fighters. This person is passionate for me.
You're not withdrawing your name from consideration, just to be clear.
We're meeting all day with senators.
I know your mom was just on Fox. She says that you are a change.
So he's meeting all days with senators. This scum. These people, they're scum. I don't know how they got him, but they got some email from Pete Hegseth's mother. Dude, they're such rats, these people. Who's scraping emails with a nominee's mom? This is how desperate they are. And on some level, it's wonderful to see the level of desperation because it's encouraging. If they're this desperate to scroll through your private communications with your own mother, how the hell do they get this? That's a question for another time. Pete Hegseth's mother on Fox News defending her son this morning. Let's go.
Is to President Trump. And I want to say thank you for your belief in my son. We all believe in him. We really believe that he is not that man he was 7 years ago. I'm not that mother. And I hope people will hear that story today and the truth of that story. So the other thing I want to say is I am here to tell the truth. To tell the truth to the American people and tell the truth to the senators on the Hill, especially our female senators. I really hope that you will not listen to the media and that you will listen to Pete.
Well, and you're here to tell us, because you are in the news now. So why did you write that email in 2018?
Right. Well, what was
going on?
Right. Let's go back 7 years, which if we all went back 7 years, we would see that maybe we were not the people we are today. But they were going through, Pete and his wife at the time were going through a very difficult divorce. It was a very emotional time, and I'm sure many of you across the country understand how difficult divorce is on a family. There's emotions. We say things, and I wrote that in haste. I wrote that with deep emotions. I wrote that as a parent, and about 2 hours later, I should, my husband tells me I should think through things a little bit more, but Pete and I are both very passionate people. I wrote that out of love. And about 2 hours later, I retracted it with an apology email, but nobody's seen that. So it was a difficult time. I want to say something about the media. And part of today is to discredit the media and how they operate. When they contact you, I let a few phone calls go, but then they call you and say they threaten you. That's the first thing they do. Right. They say, unless you make a statement, we will publish it as is. And I think that's a despicable way to treat anyone. Threats are dangerous, and they're hard on families.
Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. President Trump just blasted the Wall Street Journal report. Amazing. Seconds ago. Okay, so let's jump in here. Trump just called out the Wall Street Journal just hours after they published a story claiming that he was looking to replace Pete Hegseth. He confirmed that he forced Florida Sheriff Chad Chronister to withdraw his nomination over the arrest of a pastor. So that's a deep positive there. Let's go ahead and read this. This is up seconds ago, according to our producers. Wall Street Journal is becoming more and more obnoxious and unreadable. Today's headline, Trump DEA pick pulls out in latest setback. With all that's happening in the world, this is their number one story of the day. Besides, he didn't pull out. I pulled him out because I didn't like what he said to pastors and other supporters. This was a guy named Chad Chronister, who's actually the sheriff here. Now, I didn't live here during COVID. I lived here. I moved to Tampa in 2021, but he was the sheriff here. And he was apparently a COVID lockdown sociopath, authoritarian tyrant who just lost his dream job because he was such a sick COVID tyranny, point a gun in your face to keep you from worshiping your God, to keep you in your house. I mean, it's particularly evil down here where it's really hot when like you must be outside. It's gorgeous outside. There's a lot of nice outside space. I mean, it's like the entire place is beaches, right? Yeah. These COVID monsters really deserve what they're getting. And it's so wonderful to see that. Just on it. I didn't want to do a whole show on this because I don't actually know the guy. But Chad Chronister is emblematic of maybe the first guy that was punished for what he did during COVID. The first COVID tyrant who's been punished properly. Hopefully we'll get all the way to Dr. Fauci, who deserves to be in prison. My pronouns are arrest Fauci. But this is a wonderful sign. Chad Chronister lost his position because he was a COVID sociopath, authoritarian psychopath who abused his power and, among many other sins, locked up a pastor for doing church services here in Florida. And now he's lost his dream job because of it. Good. You should feel punishment for that. There should be far more punishment for that. Maybe Chad Chronister should lose more because of what he did during COVID, but it's good to like pin a scalp on the wall. More of it, please. Anyway, moving on. Reading through. But more importantly, what's my latest setback? I just won the presidency of the United States. They haven't written a good story about me in years. Somebody out there ought to look at what they're doing. The only one worse for them is Forbes magazine, China-centric. Okay, so he doesn't actually approach. So he talks about Chronister. And he doesn't actually talk about Hegseth. So he just goes after the Wall Street Journal. So we'll see. We'll see. All my sources tell me is that Trump and DeSantis met yesterday. That's it. That's it. That was obvious. They were on stage together, okay? This is obvious. And of course, when the governor of the state that you live in and you're the president-elect, of course you're going to meet with him. So that's all I know, all right? That's all I know. Fly on the wall. We will be at Mar-a-Lago this weekend. We have some fun meetings. We'll tell you more about that in a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, it's pretty sick what is currently going on. They're trying to pull these same and much darker and scarier operations against Kash Patel. At the very least, Pete Hegseth has some great defenders. All of the media personalities at Fox News are defending him. Guys like Dan Bongino are defending him. Scott Jennings over on CNN of all places defending him in an excellent clip here.
I don't want to be bringing back waterboarding. I don't want to be a country that tortures people, especially if we're the kind of country that's going to be using the military against our own citizens.
Well, wait,
this kind of thing concerns me.
What do you mean use against our own citizens?
I'm talking about
sending... You said blue states behave. What do you mean? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about sending the military into blue states to make them behave. Getting Gavin Newsom under control, getting J.P. Pritzker under control.
What are you
making
talking about? What do you mean, like sitting into the state capitol to commandeer the state government?
I mean, I hope not, but he's definitely talked about that. I don't know why you're acting like you've never heard
using the military to suppress, in the Black Lives Matter era, those protests in the street. He was there himself.
I just make sure I understand your position, that you believe Donald Trump is going to use the military to set up effectively like coups in state capitals of states that he didn't win?
I think you're taking it a step or two.
No, she said make blue states behave, and she also said round up immigrants. That's not true. Well, it's deport illegal immigrants.
Scott, I think you just need to be a little more precise about these attacks.
No. Okay. Well, I'm sorry. Hold on. I mean, look. I think you're right. Let's be precise. Trump has wanted to use the military to do things domestically that actually the military is not allowed to do. I think that's the point that she's making.
Like what?
Like deport illegal immigrants. That is actually not a function of the military.
The military can absolutely be used to work with local officials to provide military resources, but working with other parts of the federal government and local officials. We already send the National Guard to the border.
Not against the will of the local officials or the will of the state government. We have a federalist government here.
The military is not supposed to take up arms against American citizens, period.
They're not. You keep saying that. This is about illegal immigration. You all keep saying American citizens. Well,
how do we know whether the people are illegal or not?
Well, when we
know after they're shot.
We have 1.6.
We know after they die.
We have 1.6 million people in this country who've already received deportation orders from courts. They are here illegally.
No, it's always back to illegal immigration with people who support Donald Trump. It's always back to illegal immigration. But that's not the only thing that we're talking about here. We're talking about the American people. We're talking about taking up arms against them.
No.
What a mess. You see what's happening, though. You can see, I like those kind of, I like watching the hive mind form a nucleus in real time. You can see where they're going with this, right? They can't wait to find that first deportee who's crying at the airport. Now, they never covered any of the illegal flights that came in the dark of night to bring in the largest human smuggling operation, hundreds of thousands of children, which they don't know where they went, the largest child smuggling operation, I should say. There were no cameras for that. There were plenty of cameras for moments when AOC was screaming at an empty parking lot. They can't wait for these moments again. They can't wait. They're like salivating. You can tell. The difference between here and now is that the vast majority of Americans, according to Gallup, 70% of Americans want mass deportations. Say this isn't how we should run an immigration system in this country. And that's what we're going to get. I find it particularly fascinating that those CNN pundits are talking about, you can't deploy the military in the United States. Oh, really? Why don't you talk to my wife? When we had the military deployed and living on our block for 3 months after January 6th, when Democrats decided that now was the time to use the military to do Joe Biden's inauguration. Joe Biden was effectively it was like a military junta during his inauguration. There were like 3 people there. There was an entire encampment. I have the videos. We don't have time for them right now, but I have the videos. The military literally just took over my block in order to install Joe Biden. That happened. Don't tell me that didn't happen. So, yes, under Article 2 of the Constitution, it is the president's job to secure our borders and secure our nation. It is something that is a power endowed to our president, the sole responsibility to do as commander-in-chief, to protect the sovereignty of the nation. And he is the commander of the military in order to do that. And so when there is this is a perfect example. Military jets were scrambled on 9/11 to either force down all aircraft in the skies and to prevent, hopefully, another plane from crashing into a building. That was the American military being deployed technically in America. But what is the purpose of the deployment? To protect American citizens. Against who? Terrorist invaders who came here illegally, who meant us harm. And how many on the terrorist watch list have run across the southern border? Well, thousands, according to our own DHS, which are probably woefully undercounting the numbers. So there's your logic board there. What did you not want? On September 11th, did you not want the fighter jets to get scrambled? You can't deploy the American military against Americans. They're not Americans, they're terrorists. And a lot of them are. Now, Benny, how could you say it? Well, I didn't say it. DHS said it. Okay, Secretary Mayorkas said it. Bring it up with him. Dirty, impeached ass. Hopefully in prison soon. Anyway, the point is that you can see the hive mind already forming. They can't wait. They can't wait. This is why you need men of true backbone. Men of true energy and rock ribs. This is why we need our friend Kash Patel on Capitol Hill. We're gonna have to. Oh, that's a perfect photo. There it is. Here's your military deployment. You can't deploy the military against Americans. What monument is that? What year is it?
No, it's in Sweden.
Yeah, that's right. It's Sweden. That's exactly right. There's probably more people in that photo than all of the Swedish armed forces combined. And probably one of those guys could kick the ass of all the Swedish armed forces. I know it because I lived it. And these guys, you don't step to these guys. That's why one of these guys actually deployed on January 6th.